what is the technology. So also to give you a little bit of a background, invisa-RED technology, yes, that's our company name. It's actually our DBA. So we DBA'd the company after the actual technology that I developed. So the technology is invisa-RED technology, and our company's DBA now is invisa-RED after that technology, and it's exclusive to us, like I said. But let's look at really what it is. So quick summary of what invisa-RED technology is it's two frequencies of light, red light and infrared light. Specifically, the frequencies are going to be 680 on your red or near red infrared frequencies, and your infrared frequency of 980. So those two frequencies in combination, which are coherent, they're tremendously coherent to each other. They also, those specific frequencies for weight loss purposes and aesthetics purposes are optimal. Your 680 frequency is 10 nanometers away from the optimal frequency for collagen production, the wound healing, the skin tightening. And your 980 is the absolute best frequency for the adipocytes. The absorption levels that we get with the 980 nanometers is tremendous. The color match is insane, and we'll get into that. But what we do is, how we're actually removing fat is we're stimulating through photobiomodulation or stimulation. We're stimulating the cellular metabolism. We're stimulating cellular respiration, ATP synthesis, and the usage of fat for energy, the immediate usage of fat for energy. And we're able to do that because we can get this laser energy absorbed into the correct level of the subcutaneous tissue. Okay, so when we're looking at subcutaneous tissue, you've got multiple layers. You have your epidermal, your dermal, and then you have your subcutaneous fat. And without the combination of these two lights and the pulsing method that we use, this photo bleaching here, you're unable to actually get the light absorption down into the adipose tissue to stimulate any type of cellular process for weight loss. So we're able to do that, and we're able to do that extremely well in a very, very short manner. 15 minutes is really the average per treatment. So the actual stimulation of that metabolism, and we're pulsing the laser energy so that we can actually multiply and duplicate this process very rapidly and charge the metabolism. We're supercharging it so that after the treatment is over, the body's still burning fat for several hours after treatment, upwards of 6 hours, on average 4 hours after treatment. The body's going to continue to burn fat. And like I said earlier, it's around 1,800 to maybe 2,000 calories, depending on the person, of actual fat usage. So it's equivalent to walking on a treadmill all day long, and it's done by taking a 15-minute nap. So the primary reason that we're able to accomplish that with a multitude of skin types and have 100% results with 100% of patients is because we're able to adjust the parameters of the machine so that we can fit the necessity of the service and the response of the patient based off of several factors that we're going to cover. We have to be able to modify the actual treatment parameters in order to do that. So if you're looking at a device, or you have a device currently that does not have an adjustable feature for the settings of energy output, delay time, or pulse time, then you've got something that's got presets built in, and you've got a generic machine that's only going to be effective for about 30% of patients. Okay, so remember, we don't treat all patients the same. Same with the chiropractic and medical. We have to look at what's the diagnosis, right? What's the patient's need, and then what's their response going to be to how we're treating them as we move through. So we have to factor these things in, set their treatment program up so that we can get results with every single person, and we can do that. And we teach y'all how to do that. So how does it work on a cellular level? Let's take a look at it. Okay, so I've got some pictures to the right, but it's pretty simple. What we're doing is we're using this light energy to stimulate cellular respiration. But how do we do that? What's the actual mechanism of action? What we're doing is we're using this light to heat the subcutaneous tissue, right, localized to the area that we're actually doing the treatment, and we're stimulating a tremendous amount of blood flow to the area, and that blood within the hemoglobin, the actual trigger, right, the ignition source for this cellular activity is held. It's going to be the oxygen, the ions, and the nutrients that are held within the hemoglobin, and what happens is a transfer. So all of that blood is rushing to the area, the transfer of oxygen, the ions, all the nutrients necessary dump into the subcutaneous tissue, and it stimulates the mitochondria of the cell, which is the brain, right? And from there, the electron transport chain, the actual cytochrome C oxidase production increases. So what we're doing is we're flooding the mitochondria with all the nutrients necessary. We're unbinding, or we're releasing the cytochrome C oxidase from the waste that's attached to it, which is going to be the nitric oxide that's a smotherer. It's smothering that cytochrome C, and we're allowing the cytochrome C to be free flowing now, and to move from the respiratory enzyme, right, the energy that's moving in and the nutrients, to bounce this cytochrome C to deliver these nutrients over to ATP synthase to stimulate ATP synthesis, which is the utilization of the fat. So what we're doing is again, stimulating blood flow locally, bringing the nutrients necessary, and most importantly the oxygen, because we're dealing with the aerobic respiration component here, so it's kicked off by oxygen. And we're stimulating the mitochondria, unbinding the cytochrome C oxidase, and pushing it through so that we can get that ATP synthesis to occur. Now, that's great, but how do we get that volume of fat to be removed or utilized? Well, we do it with the pulse. So every time we're hitting that cell with the pulse of energy, it's multiplying and duplicating this cellular reaction or process, and it's taking the cytochrome and it is just moving it, bouncing it. If you can see my mouse here, left to right, it's extremely fast, very rapidly. So it's producing that ATP synthesis, which normally lasts for 5 seconds, but we're getting that done over and over and over again very rapidly. Okay, so that's how we're able to get this, the fat usage of the actual cell. We're utilizing that. Now the byproducts are going to be leaving the same way the actual ignition source came in. So the byproducts of the fat usage, or the contents of that fat, that adipose tissue, is going to be obviously water, toxins, and then the CO2 from the actual usage. So our body's going to breathe, respirate, right? Respiration, we're going to breathe it out, and then we're also going to pass some of those toxins and water out through the lymphatic system. So that's the process, that's the mechanism of action when we're dealing with this metabolism here, and that's how we're actually able to do it. Okay, so let me give you some visuals on it real quick. Your dual coherent frequencies. So coherency, what is it? So the technical term for what we're doing is called interference. And then we have photobleaching, the actual pulsing method that we use, the combination of these two things. Okay, this is how we get this done. So coherency is going to be 2 waves of light, right, laser light energy, that at multiple points within the wave, the peaks match up. So what it does is it allows for these 2 waves to bind and to turn into almost like a super wave of energy. So 2 different frequencies of light turning into one big wave. Okay, so we're using that. We're getting the coherency, we're accomplishing the coherency prior to hitting the actual skin cells. So our treatment application is done with a paddle system, but we have a lip built in so that it's actually hovering over the skin for about a quarter of an inch. So we're getting that coherency before it hits the cells. And why is that important? Well, if we can become coherent with this light before it hits the cells, we can minimize the refraction and the dissipation of this light, because that's what light does, is it dissipates, or if it hits water, which is held within the cells, it will refract. So we're able to get 100% coherency before the actual cell ruins it. Okay, so now we've got a really strong wave of light energy, and we're doing this on a low-powered laser. Our lasers, diodes, are 200 milliwatts per diode, which For the class that we're in, it's a device. It's a class 2 device. Uh, we're kind of maxing out the power. Most of your lipo lasers are going to be, 50 milliwatts per, but we're able, because we have the ability to vary energy settings, we're able to push more energy through it and not have any adverse reactions. But we're able to get this done prior to hitting the skin cells. And what we need is we need to get this infrared light down into the adipose. And remember, I was talking earlier about the 980 nanometers, how it's optimal for the actual coefficient absorption on the color yellow, so the color of the actual adipose tissue. So the absorption rate is tremendous with infrared. So we get a ton of energy absorbed into these cells, but the hard part for everybody else is getting light down in. Red light is not going to absorb into and have the same coefficient as infrared. So your lipolasers that are red light only, they're not even getting any absorption into the adipose, even if they could drive the light energy down into it. So we're able to get the right frequency to the right depth, and we're able to get enough energy density in, a ton of energy density in. And what we're doing is because these bind, your infrared is pretty much piggybacking on top of your red light. And so what happens is your red light gets consumed by this epidermal and dermal layer. That's what it's made to do. The body accepts red light at these layers very readily. Then it allows our infrared that was piggybacking to slip on through to the adipose tissue and heat that area and stimulate the actual cellular respiration and the metabolism within the adipose tissue. Okay, so look at your right side here. What we're looking at are the different services that we accomplish with this technology, and the depths that we need to push to, or the layers of the subcutaneous tissue that we need to push to or get absorption to make those services possible. So your skin tightening and stretch marks, that's all going to happen up at the surface up here of the epidermis. Okay, so red light can accomplish that, because that's what red light's designed to do within our bodies, is absorb within the epidermal layer. Okay. Then you've got your cellulite and your contouring, which is a little bit further down into the dermal layer, and this connective and fascial tissue here, the strengthening of it, the collagen production. And then we have your weight loss or your fat reduction, which happens only with the infrared at this level. So we're able to accomplish all of these, and we can vary the depth in which we're getting absorption with that combination of those two lights, but also with the tempo of our pulse. And what pulse does is it's pretty much stunning the cells, right? It's getting absorption. As soon as a pulse of light hits the cells, it's getting absorbed. Then right behind it is another pulse of light. And what it does is it slips past, because those cells are consumed with absorbing light. They're not able to absorb that second pulse that comes behind, so it moves down. It's able to bypass that layer. So that's how we're actually doing it, and we're doing it rapidly, so we can push down upwards of 40 millimeters in adipose. So here's an actual great visual. So I played football in college, so I correlate a lot of stuff to football plays. And if you guys are not very familiar with football, I apologize, but this is the best I could do. Okay, so let's look at the diagram to the right. Okay, so what I want you guys to think about is this: your red light is your fullback. Okay, I formation. Red light's your fullback. Your tailback is going to be your infrared. Now your tailback is the one that's getting the ball, that's going to carry the ball, okay? And we want that tailback to be able to pass by the line and get to the secondary, right? So we can gain yards or score. So your fullback is your lead blocker. It's going to come up and it's going to get consumed by the epidermal layer. And your tailback is that's right there with it, piggybacking on it, follows its lead blocker, and then is able to slip past that D line into the secondary, which is your adipose. Okay, so that's the coherency piece. Now, the actual photo bleaching, I want you to think about a wide receiver, and I want you to think that the wide receiver here to the left are the different layers of the tissue, your epidermal layer, your dermal layer. Okay, so the football represents the pulse of light. That first pulse of light comes out, and the wide receiver starts to catch that. Okay, so both of the wide receiver's hands are on the ball right now, and the receiver's focus is making sure that it secures that ball. Behind that ball is another ball that was fired out right after. that wide receiver cannot catch that second ball because it's all of its efforts are consumed with catching this one ball. So that cell is absorbing that first pulse of light. This pulse of light bypasses the wide receiver and goes behind him or her. And we continue to pulse that way so that we can move down throughout the layers. So that's how the pulsing method works. So invisa-RED is the combination of both of these things. These specific frequencies congruently pulsed at different tempos to accomplish different services. Okay? Here's just a little versus, a little cross comparison of our dual coherent pulse laser versus your lipo lasers. Now, if you're not familiar with lipo lasers, it's okay. A lipo laser is a generic term for all of your body contouring machines, right? So they all use red light, and they all use a continuous stream of light. Okay. Now those machines are not designed to remove fat from the body, and they can't. The reason why is because they are not able to get this energy absorbed into this layer, which is the adipose. To remove fat, we have to generate or get energy absorbed into the fat cells, right? So red light does not even absorb into the adipose. The coefficient of absorption is minimal. Okay, you have to use infrared to get any type of cellular response or cellular metabolism to activate for adipose tissue. Also, the depth in which this red light gets absorbed on a low power laser is minimal as well. So you're really restricted with just your surface area, your epidermis and your dermis, and with the services that would accompany this type of depth or absorption would be your aesthetics, your skin tightening, your contouring, your inch loss, okay, the wound healing, the collagen, not fat removal. Okay, so these two are like comparing dogs to cats of different animals. These are totally different technologies. Now, we definitely accomplish the aesthetics very, very well, but we're able to get fat reduction, okay, and we're able to push the correct type of light or laser into the correct layer of subcutaneous tissue, which is the fat cells. So other than usage of exercise and diet, accompanied with this machine, these lipo lasers, there is no fat reduction or weight loss occurring. With invisa-RED, what we're pulling off is 1.5 pounds of fat per week, guys, on 3 15-minute naps. No exercise, no life change whatsoever. So if you do educate your patients and teach them how to live well, then you're going to get even better results. But it's not necessary at all. And you'll have a 100% success rate as long as you use the correct parameters that are set forth to get to the depths that are necessary. So I just want to clarify that with everybody. invisa-RED is not a lipo laser. It is not a body contouring machine. This is a device that's designed for weight reduction, fat reduction, and aesthetic services. Okay. Earlier I was mentioning the ability to change the parameters and why it would be necessary to do that. Well, the simple reason is patient results. What you're looking at here is your Fitzpatrick scale. Okay, you've got 6 different skin tones. You're looking at different gradings of cellulite. You're looking at different sites of the body, and then severities or degrees of the issue. So we have to look at all these factors, and so make an assessment, and then develop the actual program so that we can get results with a wide variety of people, right? Skin tones, grading, severity, and sites. So presets do not work. They don't work for 100% of patients. They work for 30%. The chiropractors that are on here, y'all don't all just do cervical adjustments and expect for your patient to get better, right? If they've got a lumbar issue or something else going on, maybe with an extremity, what do? you treat the actual, you find the root cause and you fix it, and you modify your program depending on the response of the patient. Same with your MDs. Diagnosis happens. If you have to put them on some sort of medication, we're going to put them on that program that's specific to them. What? Their height and their weight, or their weight, their body weight. How long they need to be on the prescription until completion. So you can't treat every patient like they're the same. And the same goes for laser light absorption or photobiostimulation. So to think that you can have presets that are going to work for everybody, that's crazy. So these are what we're looking at when we're assessing each patient, and we have to make changes within the settings so that we can get the results that are necessary. You know, your skin tones play a massive factor in absorption. You've got those 6 skin tones there that you see. You know, your type 1 is extremely reflective. It does not absorb light as well as type 5 or 6. Think about a white t-shirt and a black t-shirt in the sun. What is sunlight anyways? It's infrared light, right? So it's designed to heat. So you come out, you put your t-shirts out in the sun, white t-shirt, black t-shirt, you touch your white one, after a couple minutes it's cool. You touch your black one and it's hot, because that color is absorbing the light more readily. So same goes with the skin tones, the melanin levels within the skin. All these things play a factor.